So now I'm just placing my head gasket. It's an aftermarket design one. It's not exactly like the KTM. Came with the head. Probably before I try that though, is I better put these pins in place. Careful not to drop them inside the motor. There's one hiding over here. So this gasket, I had to take a bit like this and just give it a little twist just to make it a little bigger so it'll go on the pins. Oh boy, it's still a tight fit. A little more massaging. Okay, I finally got that down. I just had to massage the hole a little bit with the bit, just turn it with my hand. Just make sure that this gasket is even all the way around, because it, like I say, the copper O-ring actually came right out on me, or started to come out. So I just gotta make sure it's in. That's what's gonna seal off the compression. So okay, I'm gonna put the head on. Not much room here, I tell you. Give it a little bit of a push. Cam's hitting the frame, the cam gear. Alright. And okay, we've gone that far. Now I'm going to pull that chain up and I'm going to pull that elastic off. So I'm just going to kind of rest it here for a sec. Get rid of this elastic right now. Get it out of there. Make sure it comes out in one piece. Okay. Just about. There we go. Now, basically should just drop on like that. The bolt that holds the plate that stops the cam from walking back and forth. It's basically like a thrust plate. Carefully, don't drop the bolt in. Make sure you tighten this bolt up. It has been heard of where a guy hasn't tightened that. It doesn't run very long when that happens. So you just pull this out. This is just what holds the cam. Now the cam will come out and it'll actually drop down. So I first want to get the chain up, and then I'm going to slip the chain over. One more time, do a little fishing. I could use a magnet if I had to. Cut the chain again. Okay, so I'm going to just pull the cam out, and it'll just drop down just enough. Nothing's going to happen, don't worry about it. Had to do this to take it apart. Just got to get out enough. There we go. Just dropped out of position. Just be careful you don't damage the journals or anything. Now we've got to line up the chain on the, actually not the chain, but the sprocket and the mark on the top of the head. I could put my head bolts in right now. I'd just rather get that cam sitting in position. So I'm going to do that now. Don't know why it just slipped in, but it did. You got to be careful that these are down on the valves, and the rockers, I call them rockers, or the roller, whatever, they're fully sitting on the valve. That way there's room for the cam to clear. You got to pull the cam out slightly. It's lined perfectly, I can see that. I've already checked my mark on the other side. It just drops into a slot. So I've already started my head bolts on the opposite side here. I put them in just with my fingers tight, just so the head doesn't want to move around. I'm just going to drop this retainer back in. Now it's 10 Newton meters or 7.4 foot-pounds on this bolt. It actually is supposed to be 242 Loctite on it, so I could see Loctite was on the bolt. So this bolt is pretty critical. If it falls out, you might as well kiss your timing chain goodbye, camshaft, whole 9 yards. You don't want the cam coming out. So I'm just going to snug this up. It's got a Torx drive in there, and now I'm going to get my torque wrench. Okay. There we go. Got 10 Newton meters on that, a little bit of Loctite. Like I say, don't leave that bolt loose. So I've got the retainer bolt tight. You see this little dimple right here? And there's a dimple right in the top of the head, anyway, the retainer. It's perfectly aligned, and I went over the other side and I checked. I'm 110% sure it's top dead center. I've been told that some people just use a screwdriver in the spark plug hole. I don't think that's good enough. It's just too easy to be out one tooth, so do it the right way. Okay, I'm ready to drop my head bolts in. The washer on the head bolt. So I'm going to start these two bolts with the washer, and there's a long bolt that drops down right in here. 10mm bolt head anyway. Don't forget to torque that one at the end. Now whenever you're torquing a head, you want to go crisscross. You want to start off with low torque, possibly start maybe 8 foot-pounds, work your way up increments, and it's supposed to be 37 foot-pounds. I'm going to recheck that in my book. Okay, so I've already snugged up my bolts with just a ratchet, and I just crisscrossed them. Now I'm just going to work my way up to 10 foot-pounds. There's 10. I'll do the crisscross. There's 10. I'll go over this one now. Okay, and one more. Now we just want to keep on working our way up. I'm going to go 20, and then I'm going to go 30, and then I'm going up to 37. Then I got to tighten my small bolt down here, which is only 10 Newton meters, or 7.4 foot-pounds. So we're all done here. Now it's just a matter of putting the auto chain or cam chain tensioner back in. It's got to be relaxed. Of course, the kit doesn't come with a gasket, so I'm reusing my original. I should be able to see if it's going to sweat or not. That's not a big deal. Alrighty. These bolts are torqued up. I'm just going to put my spring in here. You can just hear that just pushed against the chain there. The sealing washer. And just push together and snug her up. Okay, now just torque that up, and the chain should automatically tension itself. You can just give it a little pull like that with your finger. Just make sure it's right tight, and we should be good. So with the new piston and jug, I've changed the oil and everything on the bike. I'm a little concerned. I just want to make sure there's some fresh oil on all the moving parts, including the cylinder wall. So I've changed the oil, and I've got no spark plug in it. The throttle body's not even connected yet. I'm going to crank the bike over, and I want to see oil spraying out of this little orifice right here that sprays on the camshaft. If I see that, then I'm happy. I know the whole system's been primed. Just a little less stress on the new piston and the cylinder wall and stuff. So I've already done this. I'm just going to show you the oil spraying. So I'm going to crank it here. There it goes. You can see it spraying. It's hard to see. I know I've got good oil pressure, so that's a good thing. Everything's primed and ready to roll. So this is the gauge for the AFR fuel controller that I installed. Sorry for the shakiness. I'm going to turn on the power, and there's LEDs that'll flicker back and forth. Basically, once the motor's been running for 15-20 seconds, it'll read the fuel mixture or the amount of oxygen in the air. So you got to run these bikes when they're working hard. They need to be in the almost 12 to 13 to 1 range. At an idle around 12, and it's generally in that vicinity is where we need to be. If you get into the 14 or 15 range, you're not going to make any power, and if you get into the 11.5, 11, you're going to just be wasting fuel, burning fuel. So anyway, the bike, this has been all installed. I'm just going to fire it up. Just a second here. Got to install a bung to install an oxygen sensor, unless your bike already has an oxygen sensor. And the kit consists of the oxygen sensor, which is a very fine sensor, not like one that would be normally on a bike. There's a controller which I've mounted underneath my seat, and of course I showed you the gauge on the handlebars. So the kit is important to have so you can control your mixture. You'll get more power, you'll get better fuel economy. And this is the kit I was talking about. It's AFR Plus Gen 4 technology. For any street legal bike that has an ignition switch, you're best to just get rid of the ignition switch or take it off temporarily if you're going to ride on the street. The switches have been notoriously a problem, especially on the KTM. We've had the wires breaking off, the switches failing. So I simply just put on an on-off switch to control the computer. And then you just got your regular kill switch. So it simplifies it. You can kill the motor on either side of the bars if the bike's laying on its side, which is nice also. So I got a chance to test drive the bike on the weekend. Pretty impressed with what the kit does. Basically, you can pull an extra gear. It's like you're only running half throttle instead of 3/4 or full throttle. I really didn't get a chance to drive it much full throttle because I was doing a break-in. So when I had 3 hours or so on it, I started to get on it. I couldn't believe the track just spun up and it's a long track. It spun it up, no problem. There's no replacement for displacement, especially on an aspirated engine, and 610 is pretty darn good for a snow bike. I think I'm really happy. I don't think any more power is necessary. They have been putting turbos on the 610 kit and it's been hanging together. I think that's a bit of a push myself. Turbos can be very finicky, you're adding weight. This added absolutely no weight to the bike. The programmer might have weighted a pound for all the pieces. And then with the cylinder being small, like bigger but less material, it's probably even slightly lighter. So basically no weight gain, and probably 20 horse. That's what I'm guessing. And the programmer has a lot to do with it because you can run ideal mixtures. And if you put the program on your bike without doing any other modifications, if you put a different pipe on your bike, you change the air cleaner on your bike, which you have to on a snow bike, you got freer flowing air, you got freer flowing exhaust. Right there, you need a programmer. I'm not trying to sell you a programmer, I'm just telling you, I'm pretty sure you need a programmer, because what I saw from the mixtures on the hill, how they changed from not sea level, we're at about 1,100 feet here, and when you get up into 6,000, 7,000 feet, you don't have to adjust it much, but you can optimize the way the bike runs, and that's pretty nice to be able to do it on the hill. So obviously you can't do that if you didn't have a fuel injected bike. Like I say, with Thumper Racing, you built a good product, and I know the durability's there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.